Every night you come to bed with a tired body, but the mind remains awake, wrestling with memories, guilt, and unfinished business. It's not insomnia, it's accumulated weight. You carry unresolved arguments, disappointments you haven't let go of, words you didn't say, and the day ends with you, but you don't end with the day. No one rests like this. Serenity is not a luxury, it's a discipline. You can't expect sleep to be restorative if you keep dragging the noise of everything you can't control. As long as you hold on to ego, haste, and fear of others' judgment, every night will just be a change of scenery, but the battle will continue in your head. The Stoics understood that peace is not achieved by accumulating certainties or controlling everything. It comes when you learn to release what doesn't depend on you, when you stop begging for others' approval, when you accept that time has its own rhythm and not everything deserves your energy. If you truly want to rest, you must be able to close the day with the same determination as a warrior sheathes his sword at sunset. This is not a soft or complacent message. It's an invitation to face yourself and stop feeding the chaos that steals your sleep. Stay until the end. I'm going to show you 8 simple but profound Stoic practices that will teach you to let go of the invisible weight that exhausts you. If you take them seriously, you won't just sleep better, you'll learn to live lightly without the useless burden you carry every day. 1. Let go of what you cannot control and free your mind. A ship too heavily loaded does not move forward. It slowly sinks even if the sea is calm. That's how many of us live, sailing each day with a weight that does not belong to us, trying to control the wind, the currents, even the horizon. We become obsessed with changing the weather when the only thing we can adjust are the sails. This is the reason why at the end of the day you feel that your mind is still struggling. You have spent the hours trying to master what was never in your hands, and each thought became an anchor that holds you back even when the sun has already set. The first step to finding serenity at the end of the day is to understand with brutal honesty that you cannot control everything. Neither the attitude of others, nor the words that have already been said, nor the unforeseen events that came to disrupt your plans. However, you spend your energy reviewing conversations, imagining responses you did not give, trying to foresee the unforeseeable. You do it because your ego convinces you that if you think about it enough, something will change, but all you achieve is to keep the storm alive within you. Let go of what you cannot control, not as an act of resignation, but as a gesture of wisdom. When you choose to let go of what does not depend on you, you stop feeding useless battles. It is an act of strength because it means that you accept the natural order of things, even if you do not like it, and you focus on directing what is only yours, your mind, your response, your next step. This is not a nice idea to feel relief for a few minutes. It is a daily training that requires discipline and courage to admit that much of what agitates you only exists in your head. Think about how many nights you have stolen your rest by not accepting a result that you could no longer change. How many times have you relived a scene looking for the right phrase, as if the past was going to obey you? That is not strategy, it is self-deception. Serenity begins when you decide that you are not going to give your peace to what has already happened or to what may never happen. Every unnecessary thought you decide to let go is space that you recover to rest. The Stoics said that suffering does not come from the facts, but from the opinion we form about them. Your boss does not ruin your night by himself. It is the story that you tell yourself about what he said, what he meant, or what you fear he thinks. Traffic does not ruin your day, your resistance to accepting it does. Every time you fight with the inevitable, you chain yourself to something you are not going to move. Start today, at the end of your day, to review what of all that you carry in your mind really depends on you. Write it down if necessary. What does depend on you, decide to act tomorrow. What does not, let it go. Do it without guilt. It is an act of mental hygiene as necessary as washing your face before sleeping. Over time, you will discover that freeing your mind is like taking off your armor at the end of the battle. You remind yourself that you are still alive, that not everything deserves to be carried. True strength is not in retaining everything, but in letting go without fear. Whoever clings to controlling the uncontrollable ends up a slave to their own thoughts. Whoever learns to let go gains space for calm. Tonight, before closing your eyes, repeat to yourself that you do not have to carry the world to deserve rest. Loosen the fist with which you try to hold the impossible and allow the day to end where it should end, in the past. Only then will you be able to wake up with energy for what is truly in your hands. 2. Honor the calm of the night and halt the rush. The night is like a silent lake that reflects the sky only when the surface is still. If you throw stones into the water, the reflection distorts, just like your mind when you bring the day's rush to bed. Many approach the night as if it were an endless extension of the day, with the phone still on, reviewing tasks and messages, moving even when there is nothing left to do. It's no wonder that sleep is light and rest non-existent. The night is not made for running. It is made to let go of the frantic pace and allow the body and mind to regain balance. Honoring the calm of the night is an act of respect towards yourself, not an optional luxury. It requires decision and a conscious cut between the day and rest. One of the most common mistakes is to finish working and continue thinking about what is left, as if the mind does not know where to set the limit. To change this, create a simple ritual that marks the end of activity. Turn off notifications, put away work objects, tidy up the space where you're going to sleep. These are small gestures, but they send a powerful message to your brain. The day is over, now is the time to regain strength. Halting the rush is not just about stopping physical movement, it's about learning to slow down thoughts that insist on continuing to run. If at nightfall you are still reviewing to-do lists, it's because you haven't learned to trust in tomorrow. Make a list of what you didn't finish and place it outside your room, as if you were leaving those burdens at the door before entering. This is not procrastination. It is recognizing that rest is also part of your productivity and that forcing the exhausted mind solves nothing. Many underestimate the power of a calm environment. If you come home and keep the lights strong, the noise of the television or social networks on, you continue to feed the same rush that wears you out. Dim the light in your room, reduce the sounds, even slow down your breathing. All of this reminds the body that it is not in alert mode, that it no longer has to fight against the day. It is also important to respect disconnection time. The phone and screens are silent enemies of the night calm. If you want to sleep peacefully, set a limit. At least 30 minutes before going to bed, leave the device out of your reach. This simple gesture is a declaration of priority. Your peace is worth more than a notification. A Stoic tip you can practice is to meditate for a few minutes at dusk. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just sit in silence and acknowledge that the day has completed its cycle. Ask yourself what you did well, what no longer depends on you, and what you can let go of before sleeping. This nightly reflection is not an abstract spiritual exercise. It is a practical tool to settle accounts with the day and not carry emotional debts to bed. The night should become your ally, not a stage where you continue to struggle. Honoring its calm is to stop the race that never ends, even if only for a few hours, to remind you that you are not a machine of production, but a being that needs a pause to continue. If you truly want to rest, don't wait for the body to give up. Anticipate and decide to slow down. In this voluntary pause, you will discover that the night silence is not empty. It is the space where the mind finds refuge in the heart, a respite that no daytime achievement can give you. 3. Seek refuge in the silence that restores the soul. Silence is like that fertile land that seems empty at first glance, but where seeds grow unseen. It is discreet, invisible, and yet powerful. Most people fear it because they confuse silence with loneliness and loneliness with abandonment. But silence is not an enemy, it's a sanctuary that few know how to inhabit. When the day ends and you can't find rest, it's not because you lack time, it's because your mind is still saturated with noise, with external voices and thoughts that keep repeating what can no longer be fixed. Seeking refuge in silence doesn't mean running away from the world, but creating a space where nothing external dictates your mood. Think about the number of hours you spend listening to others, co-workers, news, social networks, other people's discussions. All of this accumulates in your mind like dust in a closed room. Silence works like opening the windows and letting in fresh air. For silence to become a true refuge, you have to conquer it in a practical way. Start by turning off the distractions that bring you nothing. Before going to sleep, turn off the television. Silence your phone. Avoid unnecessary conversations that only serve to stretch out the fatigue. It's a simple gesture, but it's the first step to allowing silence to occupy its rightful place. Don't wait to feel calm to seek silence. Seek it precisely when your mind is most agitated. Sit down, even if it's just for 5 minutes, and allow the noise of the day to dissolve. At first, it will seem uncomfortable. Your mind will try to fill it with worries or memories. But if you stay firm, you will notice how little by little that discomfort turns into relief. The Stoic practice of silent reflection can help you. At the end of the day, take a few minutes to review your actions without judging or punishing yourself, just observing. Ask yourself which decisions you made wisely and which ones you didn't, but without turning it into a judgment, but into a learning experience. This exercise gives direction to your silence and prevents it from becoming unproductive rumination. You can also incorporate moments of silence during the day so that it doesn't become something strange at night. Walk without headphones for a few minutes. Eat without checking your phone. Listen to the sound of the environment without feeling the need to fill it with music. These brief spaces prepare your mind to rest better at the end of the day, because silence stops being something foreign and becomes a natural ally. The silence that restores the soul is not just the absence of external noise, it is the internal calm that arises when you stop reacting to every thought and every stimulus. To achieve it, you need discipline, just like for any other practice. Don't wait for peace to appear by accident. Build it by removing the unnecessary and reminding yourself that not everything deserves an immediate response. Every night is an opportunity to retreat to that refuge and close the door to the chaos of the day. If you want to wake up renewed, start by turning off the noise you're still carrying in your head. There is no real rest while internal noise continues to dictate your mood. When you learn to seek refuge in silence, you discover that you are not running away from life, but regaining the strength to face it with greater clarity at dawn. 4. Live without seeking approval from others. The desire for approval is like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. The more you drink, the thirstier you feel. Every time you seek validation in the eyes of others, you lose a bit of your peace, because you hand over your rest to a judge who is never satisfied. If you end the day reviewing what others thought of you, their silence, their gestures, their words, it's a sign that you're not living for yourself, but to please an invisible audience. No one can close their eyes in peace if their worth depends on the applause of others. Living without seeking approval doesn't mean becoming indifferent or arrogant. It means to stop mortgaging your tranquility to the judgment of people who often don't even understand your path. It's learning to recognize yourself before begging for recognition. When the day ends, the opinions of others don't pay for your fatigue or give you back the lost time, so why keep giving them power over your night? To practice it, start by observing at what times of the day you act only to avoid criticism or to gain praise. Maybe you post something on social networks hoping for approval, or you silence your opinion at work for fear of looking bad. Every time you detect that impulse, pause and ask yourself if that action reflects what you value or just your need to fit in. If it doesn't come from your authenticity, it's a burden you should let go of before going to bed. Another practical tip is to establish a nighttime space to reconnect with yourself. Before going to sleep, write down 3 things you did well during the day that didn't depend on anyone's approval. This simple but powerful exercise helps you recognize your own worth and train your mind to rest with the certainty that your effort makes sense, even if no one applauds it. Remember that external approval is unstable by nature. Today they celebrate you, tomorrow they criticize you, and if your peace moves to the rhythm of those tides, you will never have real serenity. The Stoics taught that true freedom arises when you stop being a slave to the opinion of others. If you manage to make this idea a daily practice, the silence of the night will stop being a court that judges your worth and will become a refuge where you can rest without masks. Living without seeking approval is not achieved overnight, but every step counts. Start by saying no to what drains your energy and does not contribute to your values, even if that means disappointing someone. Learn to tolerate the discontent of others without feeling obligated to remedy it. Over time, you will notice that at the end of the day, the mind is less burdened with useless explanations and defenses. Nighttime serenity is built by giving up the stage you set up in your head for others to applaud you. When you close that inner theater, there is room for what matters: your inner voice, your quiet conscience, and the certainty that you don't need anyone's validation to deserve rest. Only then will you discover how light the weight of the day becomes, and how easy it is to close your eyes, knowing that you lived true to yourself. 5. Drop the ego and rest in your truth. The ego is like a heavy mask that you decide to wear all day to impress others. It may look shiny on the outside, but inside, it suffocates you. Night comes, and instead of resting, you keep holding that mask even though no one is watching you anymore. The ego not only tires you during the day, it also steals your rest when you don't let it go. It forces you to remember who said what, to justify yourself, to maintain the image you think others expect to see. No mind can sleep in peace while it continues to play a role that is not its own. Dropping the ego is like leaving unnecessary weight at the door of your room. It's not about losing dignity or value, it's about freeing yourself from the pressure of being more than you really need. Every time you compare yourself to others, exaggerate achievements, or keep quiet for fear of appearing weak, you feed that mask. The problem is that the ego is never satisfied. It always asks for more and turns every small mistake into a wound of pride that is hard to heal. To start practicing it, take a few minutes at the end of the day to ask yourself which of today's attitudes were born from the desire to pretend and which came from your truth. Do it honestly, without looking for excuses or punishments. If you recognize that you argued just to be right, or that you worked too hard just to show superiority, accept it and let it go. Recognizing it is already part of letting it go. Another useful practice is learning to apologize when appropriate. Many times the ego keeps you awake thinking about the harsh words you said or the gestures that hurt others. Admitting your mistakes and correcting them is a way to take off that weight before sleeping. It's not weakness, it's maturity, and it gives you a sense of lightness that pride never offers. Dropping the ego also means accepting your limits. If you spend the day pretending that you can handle everything, you end up exhausted and frustrated when you see that you can't achieve it. Learn to say no without feeling that you lose value. Ask for help when you need it, and allow others to also participate in your burdens. The night is more peaceful for those who recognize that they don't have to prove anything to deserve rest. Remember that the ego often disguises itself as demand and perfectionism. It convinces you that the higher you go, the more you are worth, but it never allows you to stop. If you want peace at the end of the day, start by appreciating what you did and letting go of what didn't come out perfect. Rest is not a reward for meeting unreal standards. It's a basic need that you should respect even when you didn't achieve everything you wanted. Sleeping with a clear conscience is achieved when you don't have to protect a false image. You rest in your truth when you know that you acted honestly, that you didn't compete for empty recognition, and that you didn't give more power to pride than to your own well-being. Every time you choose to be authentic, the ego loses strength and the mind gains space to relax. Only then does the night become a true refuge, not a stage where you continue to play a role that you should never have carried. 6. Embrace the void of loss as a new beginning. Losing something or someone feels as if the ground opens up beneath your feet and you fall into a dark space you didn't ask for. That void is scary because it seems like an end, but it is actually the fertile ground where everything can be reborn. What hurts is not just the absence, but the resistance to accept that something has ended. When night comes and the memory of that loss appears strongly, rest escapes because your mind is still clinging to what it can no longer recover. Embracing the void does not mean minimizing the pain or pretending it doesn't matter. It means to stop fighting against the inevitable and allow yourself to be at peace with the space that was left. It is recognizing that this gap is not a sign that your life is incomplete, but a reminder that you now have room for something new. Resisting only prolongs the wound. Accepting allows you to begin to heal. A practical way to start this process is to allow yourself to feel the grief without judging it. If every night you repress the tears or refuse to think about what you lost, you carry that emotion like an invisible backpack that weighs more when you try to sleep. Take a moment during the day to face that emotion, write it down, speak it softly, or share it with someone you trust. This way you avoid it exploding in the solitude of the night. Another important practice is to rethink the meaning of the loss. Ask yourself what lessons it left, what aspect of you it strengthened, or what paths it opened that you would not have seen before. It is not an exercise to romanticize suffering, but to recognize that even the void has something to teach you. The Stoics believed that everything that happens to us can be used as material to grow if we choose to look at it clearly. It also helps to create a nightly ritual that marks respect for what was lost and the beginning of a new cycle. It can be as simple as lighting a candle and, while looking at it, thanking what was there and silently saying goodbye. This gesture gives your mind a sense of closure that the heart often needs to let go. Accept that not everything that leaves should be replaced immediately. The void is uncomfortable, but necessary for new experiences and relationships to emerge. If you try to fill it hastily with distractions or with people who do not add value, you only prolong the grief and prevent the space from fulfilling its purpose. Allow yourself to be in that space without feeling like you're failing. When you embrace the void as a new beginning, nighttime rest is no longer interrupted by the anxiety of what you lost. You learn to let go of the past and trust that time, at its own pace, will continue to arrange the pieces of your life. Serenity comes in recognizing that not every end is a catastrophe. Often it is the silent invitation to rebuild yourself with greater strength and clarity. Sleeping in peace after a loss is possible when you accept that pain does not define your destiny. What has gone has already completed its cycle, and what is coming needs space to be born. The night can become your ally to heal if you let the void be an open ground, not an open wound. Only then does the darkness of loss stop scaring you and becomes the beginning of a new dawn. 7. Trust in time that transforms and heals. Time resembles the river that moves forward without you noticing. You can hit the water with your hands, try to stop it, or run downstream to hasten its pace, but it will always follow its course. Most people fight against time as if they could force it to heal wounds faster, bring answers sooner, or erase pain immediately. This battle only exhausts and steals the serenity you could have today. Trusting in time is not passivity. It's wisdom to recognize that each process has a rhythm that doesn't obey your hurry. If the day ends and you go to bed anxious about all that has not yet arrived, it's because your mind is still convinced that it can advance the seasons. Impatience weighs as much as any burden, and often it is the real reason why you can't rest. Practicing this trust begins by accepting the present moment without resisting it. Take a break each night and ask yourself what part of your worry comes from something that is out of your immediate control. If you find that you can't solve it today, consciously decide to let it go until tomorrow. This act of surrender is not weakness. It's a firm decision to take care of your peace. Another practical recommendation is to stop obsessively checking the results. If you're waiting for a job response, the recovery of a loved one, or personal change, avoid checking every moment if it has already happened. Set longer review periods and focus on the small actions that do depend on you. Time also heals when you accompany it with habits that allow it to act. Sleeping well, eating properly, maintaining self-care routines, and seeking emotional support are signs that you are collaborating with the process instead of sabotaging it. Patience doesn't mean standing still. It means moving slowly with the steps that are possible today, while trusting that the rest will come at its own pace. A useful Stoic practice is to reflect on the passage of time at the end of the day. Ask yourself if you used your hours in a way that contributes to your future, or if you wasted them feeding useless worries. This daily examination is not meant to punish you, but to remind you that each passing day is already adding something to your transformation, even if you don't see it immediately. It's also essential to cultivate hope without attachment to the outcome. You can have goals, desires, and dreams, but don't turn them into chains that distress you if they don't come true tomorrow. Every time you let go of the expectation of immediacy, the heart breathes more calmly and the body finds a deeper rest. Trusting in time is an act of humility. It's admitting that life has cycles that you can't alter, and that often the silence of waiting is working in your favor. When you accept this, the night ceases to be a battlefield against the clock and becomes a deserved pause, a place where you can regain energy while the river of life continues to flow forward. Rest becomes possible when you recognize that not everything has to be resolved today. Each dawn brings different opportunities, and each sunset reminds you that even if you don't see the change, something in you is already maturing. Allow time to be the ally that silently rebuilds you, not the enemy you try to defeat. Only then will you be able to close your eyes with the certainty that what hurts now will not be eternal and that patience will be rewarded. 8. Practice gratitude to dissolve anxiety. Gratitude is like turning on a lamp in the middle of a dark room. The darkness doesn't disappear immediately, but the light that appears completely changes the way you see the space. Many people live with anxiety because their gaze is fixed only on what is missing, on what went wrong, on what has not yet arrived. This partial vision feeds the feeling of emptiness and makes the heart beat quickly, even at the end of the day. Gratitude doesn't erase problems, but it illuminates what you already have and calms the mind that obsesses over what it thinks it lacks. Practicing gratitude is not repeating empty phrases or forcing yourself to smile at what hurts. It's an exercise in awareness, a decision to clearly recognize that even on difficult days there is something that sustains your life. It could be the health you maintain, someone who listens to you, the roof that covers you, or the simple ability to try again tomorrow. To incorporate it into your daily routine, dedicate at least a few minutes each night to writing down 3 things you are grateful for. They don't have to be major achievements or extraordinary moments, just what you notice during the day. This simple act trains your mind to end the day with perspective and prevents it from getting stuck in pending tasks and worries. Another useful practice is to express your gratitude out loud. It can be in private, saying it as you walk to your bed, or addressing someone who accompanied you during the day. Naming in words what you value has a powerful effect. It organizes thought and reinforces the memory that not everything in your life is a burden or struggle. Gratitude also requires changing the way you interpret challenges. Instead of seeing them only as obstacles, try to identify the lesson or opportunity they brought. This shift in focus does not deny the effort or pain, but it helps you perceive that not all difficulties are a loss. Over time, this mindset strengthens your resilience and gives you more serenity in the face of what you cannot control. When you cultivate gratitude, you decrease the space that anxiety uses to grow. The anxious mind needs fuel: complaints, comparisons, fears, unfulfilled desires. Each thought of gratitude reduces that fuel and opens a quieter space to rest. It's a daily training, not an immediate result, but little by little it transforms the way you end the day. It's also important to learn to thank yourself. Acknowledge the efforts you made, even if not all the results are visible. Accept that today you did the best you could with what you had. This gesture of self-recognition prevents you from ending the night with a feeling of inadequacy and prepares you to sleep with a sense of internal accomplishment. Nighttime anxiety decreases when you manage to see your life from a wider angle, when you stop counting only the deficiencies and start counting what you already have. Gratitude doesn't change the facts, but it does change the emotional weight you give them. By practicing it, your mind learns to rest in the present instead of getting lost in what it imagines or fears. End each day with a moment of conscious gratitude, no matter how hectic the day was. Look for that spark of light and focus your attention on it. You'll find that the body relaxes and the mind quiets because it remembers that not everything is struggle or scarcity. Thank you for staying until the end of the video. If you watched the whole thing, comment "I am Stoic" as our secret signal to know that you're a true student of Stoicism. Don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like if you enjoyed it. See you in the next video, and remember, keep cultivating your Stoic mind.